the voices of the pensioners, particularly the 81-year-old who had practiced within the medical field, the former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu herself, who had, made a strong point that it was disrespectful, it was illegal. That will be in sync with what the Attorney General had said to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. And we
also have, I think we also have the former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Right. He's the leader of the party.
Yeah, actually. Of course, yesterday he hit back at Gabi for describing their exercise as fruitless. In fact, he said, I've practiced all my life. I've been the former boss of the Securities and Exchange Commission.
That's right.
So if there is any person who understands the offer from government and what it means to be granted an exemption and for you to self-exempt, I'll be in better position to explain to you and the government than you sit to tweet on those subjects. So we'll be listening to that as well. Also yesterday,
and
Professor
you know that Mr. N.P., for example, had mentioned that he engaged Mr. Ofori-Atta. He raised these concerns with him, and Mr. Ofori-Atta didn't have a rebuttal to those issues.
So I mean, simple, basic knowledge, Johnny. If the exercise is voluntary, why would you say you've granted exemption to pension funds? It's voluntary. So if pension funds want to participate in the exercise, allow them to do so.
That's their business.
But you issued a statement telling them that you have granted them exemption and telling the rest if they want to self-exempt, because there are differences between you granted an exemption and you self-exempted, because granting an exemption to you means government will honor all the obligations and stands by the terms and conditions that establish the contract.
So in other words, you'll be priority if they come up.
But self-exemption.
Let's listen to. I'll come to you. Sorry. Let's listen to the former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu, what she had to say.
But these are all people who have worked. They have worked very hard. They could have left the country when others were going. They stayed. They worked for the nation. And we've had our ups and downs and everything. But bit by bit, a lot of us are from the generation where you were always encouraged to save for tomorrow and all that. Sometimes we've been through times when all your savings become nonsense because of some government policy. Then, over the years, bit by bit, people have become more confident in the economy, in investment and all that. And quite a number of people here today, when they retired last 2 years, they've put everything into government bonds. And now all of a sudden, it's a contract, isn't it? And you virtually want to, at gunpoint, force them to agree with you that the repayment or the yield of their investment should be as you dictated. Now all of a sudden, it's a contract, isn't it? And you virtually want to, at gunpoint, force them to agree with you that the repayment or the yield of their investment should be as you dictated. As you dictated. Why? And at the same time, why are we in the mess we are in? Nobody has fully explained to us. Yes, debt. Okay, fine. We took debt. What was it used for? Where's the accountability? Exactly what was it used for? You're not telling us about how you're going to be able to make things better by just like, help me and I'll help you. No, you help yourself first. Let me see you doing something serious. Because we've seen these sort of things too many times. I'm over 70 now, and I'm no longer a government employee. My mouth has been ungagged, and I'm talking and I'm saying what I feel. And it's important that the elderly in this nation should be respected. One, I find this wicked, I find it disrespectful, I find it unlawful, I find it totally wrong, period. Because you don't that, and I'm talking and I'm saying what I feel. And it's important that the elderly in this nation should be respected. One, I find this wicked, I find it disrespectful, I find it unlawful, I find it totally wrong, period. Because you don't solve your problems by sacrificing your aged. That's the last thing you should do, especially when you don't have any services that are specially geared at the comfort and the relief of the aged. The national insurance system has virtually collapsed. The elderly are buying their medications at normal commercial prices. And I know a lot of people who have told me that they have timed the way they did their investments so that at least every month there's something for them to be able to cover their medical bills with. Now people are asking pharmacists, oh, can I, is it safe for me, instead of 2, can I take 1 a day? Or if it's instead of 1, can I take half a day? How long can I continue like that before having a bad effect on me? Should it come to that after years of faithful pharmacists? Oh, can I? Is it safe for me, instead of 2, can I take 1 a day? Or if it's instead of 1, can I take half a day? How long can I continue like that before having a bad effect on me? Should it come to that after years of faithful service to the nation? So the Minister of Finance had better go back to the drawing board and come up with a better proposal, because otherwise nobody is going to. I'm encouraging people not to agree to sign up to anything. Yes, and if need be, you can all go to court. That's all. The contract has to be respected. And if you want to renegotiate it, come to the table, one, with humility, and come with a yesable proposition, not take it or leave it. Yes, it's all of us, it's our duty to shore up our economy. But we voted government into power to take care of our economy. So we should see where the due diligence is before you tell an aged person to lend you money.
Please. That is what she ended with. Let's go to the former boss of the Securities and Exchange Commission, who's also the leader, Mr. Subotinentri. Here's what he also had to say following what the Chief Justice had said. And you know that the former Chief Justice, Justice Sophia Kufu, her comments had dragged Gabi Asare-Tridako to put together a very lengthy tweet.
Introduce this person. He says, why do we care? Why should we care what he has to say on social media?
Well,
he's fuming in his chair. He says, why do we care?
We will come back to that. Let's listen to Mr. Subotinentri first.
Voluntary from day one. But there's a difference between when the issuer, who is the government, has exempted you from the program, as again when you yourself has volunteered to be out of the program. When the issuer says, as for these debts, I don't have any problems with the payment, so I will exempt you from the restructuring. So the issuer tells holders of that bond that for you, I don't have any challenge with the bonds that you are holding. So I will not bring you under the restructuring program. I will exempt you. So it's like telling you that, look, as for you, the bond that you are holding, please go and sleep. Sleep well. Don't think about anything, because I am going to do it the way I'm doing it every day. I'm going to continue to do that. So go and sleep. You have been exempted. When you have not been exempted, the government is telling you, as for the rest of you, I may have challenges paying you. And so I wanted you to bring your old bonds and come for a new one, which I can pay. The old one I cannot pay. And you decide that, look, whether you can pay or you can't pay, I won't come. You have decided to stay there. So there are two different things, the positions. when it comes to payment, and I assume the issuer has challenges, those that the issuer has exempted, they can go to the issuer and say, wait a minute, you told us that we should go and sleep well, because as for our debt, you don't have any challenges with it at all, so we should go and sleep. That is why you took us from the exchange, because you say, for you, I can handle you. What are you doing now? So we shall ask the government. The people who were not exempted and have opted out the program, they can't go and ask government the same question that we can ask. So when it comes for payment and government is tight, those that has been exempted would have a priority over those who were not exempted. So if Gabi and others don't understand, they will talk like that.
What will be your next line of action if this demand is not met?
This is our last line of action. And as we have said, we are going to be here every day until the government takes it from the program. Exempt us. So if Gabi is listening, or you can send him this clip, let him listen and understand the difference between the two. I can forgive him because he's not a securities market player. So Gabi can get this tape and listen.
All right, so I have...
And that is Mr. Duana Nientri. He's the leader of the Pension Bondholders Association. As George says, ordinarily this would have been a family affair, but mother side and father side are in tango, and we have had to do. But Sani Abdurrahman spoke with Professor John Gachi. He's the head of the finance department at the UCC. He also went straight for Parliament. Listen.
Look, since December 2022, there was so much noise around the country concerning this debt exchange program. Parliament was looking on, seeing pensioners picketing over a number of days, some having exchanges with the minister. Nothing was heard. It was just last week or so that Parliament said they are calling the minister to come. If this is prioritized as a major national development, Parliament would have been called to come to look into this matter, invite the minister for the minister to appear before it and make some statement to clarify the issues. That was not done. So I believe it is too late. The Parliament of Ghana did it timeously, and we do not expect that something concrete will happen when the finance minister meets Parliament. The minister gets whatever he wants all the time, and when he gets to Parliament, he's going to get what he wants.
That's Professor John Gachi, and he is obviously not happy that the finance minister gets whatever he wants all the time, as is the case now. Sonny, this is a fallout from the conversation you had. William is not happy when we keep referencing Mr. Gabi Otridako because he himself has said he has no locus in government.
We heard what Mr. Ananientri said. He said the man doesn't understand the issues, but then he creates the impression that he's an expert in everything, and for which reason, for me, I believe that even our information minister has become so quiet because I think because of some of these things that we allow. I mean, every day, Gabi, sensitive government information, he has it. The information minister doesn't have it, and we are just propping him up as some government official, but he's not a government. If he wants to join the government, he should join the government.
But he has said that he is not a member of government.
No, but at the end of the day, why do we pay so much attention?
Because when he tweets, for example, he tweets ahead of a direct exchange program, it is going to happen.
That is wrong.
He gives you the indication before you know.
And that's what we do in this country. You know, we give people so much space in the media, they become tin gods, but we are paying other people for the same thing that he's doing. And that's the point I'm trying to make. To the point that we come and sit there and say we don't hear from Opon Nkrumah. We don't hear from Opon Nkrumah. Why are we not hear from Opon Nkrumah?
But why is Opon Nkrumah not making?
Because maybe the system is not giving him the space to work. You and I have said that there are ministers who come into office with their own PROs. So when you go to the ministry, the official PRO who is receiving salary is there. He's been rendered redundant. and then he goes around, travels around with a certain communication expert. Then when recently there was some public accounts committee hearing, there was a certain minister who was paying individuals in her office when the state had not employed them.
Right.
And there were some funds that she was supposed to account for. We shouldn't allow this. I'm not saying they are paying Gabi, but this gives him certain leverage. That's why everything, his name is mentioned. PDS, his name is mentioned. Here, Japan, his name is mentioned. Who is Gabi Ochedaku?
We saw him represent finance minister when he was called before.
That's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. He can do that.
So
that is in his capacity as a lawyer. He can do that. But I'm saying beyond and besides that, why should we give him that prop?
Are you suggesting that he's creating problems for the government? Because
for me, it is
actually
not.
Johnny, I do think that he could potentially be creating problems for government.
Has he not already?
Or in fact, or maybe already done so, because as you mentioned, whenever there's something coming up, for example, e-levy, as soon as he started tweeting, we thought, we know what's coming next. In what capacity does he hold such information?
The problem is that he's a Ghanaian citizen, free to speak.
Yes.
But when we begin to make reference to him as a leading member of the MPP,
but is he not the leading member of the MPP?
Is he speaking for the party or speaking for the government?
Well,
because there's a certain individual. There's a certain individual who speaks for the party when it comes to communication. Anyaba. There's a certain individual who speaks for the presidency. Eugene. There's a certain individual who speaks for the government. Upon Kuma. So who is Gabi speaking for?
What is his locus? That's what you want to find out.
If he's speaking his private capacity, fine. But when we begin to put some color on him, leading member of the MPP, how many then?
But for me, I think the bigger question.
That's the question Dr. Mr. Ananiachu was asking.
Yeah. For me, the bigger question is that the government seems to have a posture where you ask questions and they abandon the questions and go for your personality, or they attack you, which is what Gabi was trying to do with the former CJ. That you should understand. And that's why Mr. Anani MP also had to come back and say, look,
he ended up setting himself up for ridicule because he displayed ignorance on the matter. Because if you weigh the explanation given by Dr. Anani and what Gabi and even Richard Ahiaba earlier said, of course they demonstrate that they do not have understanding of financial matters, because there is clear difference between self-exemption and being granted an exemption, even on the basis of English language.
Yes.
If somebody says, I've granted you, somebody with authority, I've granted you, and you say, I have decided to exempt myself, of course there will be consequences.
So for example, they say you have leave and license to do the thing. And then this one, they says, okay, you do it the way you want.
Do it, let's see.
It's as if you're in a university and the lectures are ongoing. You've been granted exemption from one or two classes because of, whatever reason. And then on the other hand, you choose not to
come,
participate.
Not to write the IA and those things.
That was dishonest. It was a dishonest assertion from Gabi Ochedaku, because we know that government has said that if you don't get involved, you're on your own. So there's coercion there.
And there is, you see, yes, when they came we discussed it on the show. And they talked about the issue that your bonds may suffer from tradability and profitability. And there was a clear statement from the finance ministry that even if government defaults and you sue government, you will not be able to execute the judgment that has been awarded. And you call this not threats?
But because the point is that if you say the thing is voluntary, and then as Ellen has said, you are actually giving people options to what is voluntary. You are coercing them. You are pushing them into a certain corner. That's where the take it or leave it thing comes
so
in.
If it's voluntary, why did you grant exemption to pension funds?
To some person.
In a statement you issued and said, we have granted you exemption.
In fact, the civil servants as well.
Yes.
So organized labor, you granted them exemption because they threatened to go out there and shut you down. But then we have 80%. We have achieved the 80% participation, the agitations here and there. What should this mean for an ordinary bondholder?
Well, certainly this statement has brought a bit of confusion than the clarity that we thought it will provide, because we know initially, to start with, the 80% or more than 80% contained in the statement, which was issued around midnight indicates that around midnight you are laughing. Yes, because the statement was issued around midnight. We waited till the last hour. We thought the statement was not coming.
Dramatic.
But the statement to announce the results came around midnight.
Of the dark.
And we started hearing that the 80% mark has been crossed since Friday. You understand? Through some journalists who are friends of the government and stuff. So, if you look at it all, it basically tells us that government has secured the required participation to close the chapter of the domestic debt exchange program. But what government is not telling us is that more than 80% of what has been restructured. The initial bonds to restructure was around 137 billion Ghana cedis. Then we saw the agitation from the labor fronts demanding that pension funds should be exempted from the exercise. They hold about 26.9 billion cedis.
Okay.
They were granted the exemption, which indicates that out of the 137 that government sought to restructure, it has taken off 26.9, approximately 27 billion. So 137, basic mathematics, 137 minus 27, it will be left at 110.
Yeah.
We know individual bondholders also hold about 8 billion Ghana cedis. Largely, they have not participated in the exercise. We know some few of them because of maybe political exposure, and some who do not want to take the risk of
and some,
hold your bonds and let's
some
see.
who the bankers could not explain the issues well to them.
Yes,
and
because a lot of them, the banks confuse them.
I have two people who went to banks, state-owned banks, some in Tema, who told them that, look, I don't know, if you don't sign, I don't know what's going to happen next. So you just try and sign so that you are safe.
Yeah, that has largely been the message by...
I've committed to this bond thing without necessarily understand, because their bankers told them that, Charlie, even we don't understand. So if you don't, and that's where the problem is. So I've committed to what I don't understand, and now I'm going to be giving the haircut.
So on that journey, essentially, it tells you that government is restructuring maximum about 110 billion Ghana cedis. Now the original
when you say restructure, what exactly is that? That you used to have it, you don't have it. So you are trying to
for our listeners, restructuring. Of course, we've been confusing Ghanaians with big terminology.
Exactly.
In this whole exercise.
Exactly.
It means
that's the question.
Bottom line.
Bottom line. Where's the money?
It means I owe you, Johnnie, 10 cedis. We've agreed that I'm paying the 10 cedis in 1 year, but at the end of every month, I'll give you 2 cedis as interest on the 10 cedis you lended to me. But after the 1 year, I'll give you back your 10 cedis in full value. So that is how the bonds work. Government wants money. You come and buy the bonds.
When it matures, government gives you your money.
Give you your money back. But before it matures, periodically government will be paying you the agreed interest rates. Now government has reached a level that it says, I don't have money. So the 10 cedis I took from you, even though we agreed I'll pay you the money in 1 year, I cannot pay in 1 year.
So you are postponing the payment.
So I'll pay you in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, at whatever arrangement you agree with.
And do I get the full value of the interest?
That is one component of debt restructuring. When the maturity date is extended from the original position.
Right.
Another aspect of debt restructuring is when the coupon rate, which is the interest rate, government says, even though I agreed to give you 2 cedis on your 10 cedis periodically, because of my situation, I cannot give you the 2 cedis. So let's agree for me to give you 1 cedi.
But that agreement has not been reached in this particular matter. That's where the curriculum is.
It's quite confusing
because people had bonds that matured within this period.
Yes.
And have not been paid.
On February 6th, even though we had the government, the excuse was that they were hoping holders of those bonds will tender in to participate in the domestic debt exchange.
Sonny, me and you, we have agreed. I have agreed with you. You as government say you want money to do A, B, C, and D. I've given you my money. We have signed a document that says that on 6th of February my bond will mature. You will give me my money in full after giving me my interest over time. Now it got to sit. Contract is still intact because it's offer acceptance consideration, William will tell you. And then now you are telling me that you cannot give me, and you are hoping that I will change my mind to join your disjointed agenda.
So you see, on the capital market, what works is that between the maturity dates, there's a 15-day grace period, and that is backed by law. I mean, it's a standard practice. So even though the bonds matured on February 6th, government has 15 days addition to cater for settlement.
And I say I don't want.
So the 15 days will fall, let's say, on 15 plus 21st February. That's when we can conveniently say government has defaulted on, even though it's still a default now. But you cannot even take any legal action against government on those bonds until the 15-day grace period elapses.
But the 15-day is on or before, right?
Yes, 21st of February.
So why do I have to wait till after?
Well, we've heard, if you look at the statement that government has issued, the midnight statement, it indicated...
I like the way you put it.
It indicated that... It will honor all obligations
with the laid down rules.
You understand?
Laid down rules. That underline that one.
Yes, I mean, pending whatever. You understand? So let's give government the benefit of the doubt and work with the assurance so that we give some peace of mind to the bondholders.
But Sonny, if I have
21st is just
Sonny,
next week Tuesday.
It's convenient to say 21st is just here. But if I have, touch wood, I'm that 81-year-old who has 4th level kidney issues, and I need the money to go and do my dialysis because NHIS doesn't pay for that, and I need to survive on that one. My kidney issues won't wait until 21st. I could possibly, touch wood, die before the 21st. So what are you talking about?
So this is one aspect of the conversation. But
because you're dealing with old people, though.
You were signing up
pensioners.
When you were signing up, you knew the law has given the bond issuer a 15-day grace period, and this has normally been the practice.
And I'm saying it is on or before.
And so any day within the 15 days, government settles. It's not much of a bigger issue on the capital market.
But we have not had these noises until now. These pensioners have been taking their Nokofio every now and then from their bonds,
solving their own issues.
Solving their issues. Nobody heard about them. Now, the last time we spoke to Miss Edu, Madame Edu, Kokwi Edu, she said they have gotten to the point where they are now discussing their private issues in public. I mean, how would we have known about this 81-year and his kidney issues? I'm sure somebody has also gone somewhere to talk about his diabetes, blood pressure, whatever it is. We did not need to know it because it's not dignifying to begin. More so when the president himself is a septuagenarian.
You see, that's why when we started this conversation, I mentioned a certain name, and this is not personal. The issue has moved beyond economics and finance. It has now become health and social.
That's right.
And that's why I'm saying that the health also has to do with what you hear and how it affects your mind and how it affects your organs. So we should not allow people who don't know
anything
the
around
subject and who have no locals to be talking because you're hurting the old people. You heard the reaction of Dr. Mr. Anani. He said, look, that guy should keep quiet because he doesn't understand the issues. And the statement that he released, picking on the venerable former Chief Justice, it was unnecessary. And I'm saying that we should not give him the platform to do so. And that's why
it was quite disrespectful.
And as Johnnie was asking, do we believe that it's hurting government? Absolutely. Because now you have the older population definitely offended by that because they've been picketing for days on end. These are people that have issues. They have ailments.
Talking about the issues.
And for them to be picketing, standing there for 5 days, for their efforts to be more or less rubbished.
So just to conclude on the statement, Johnnie. So where we are now, the financial journalism space is quite confused. The investor community.
If we are confused, you both are confused.
Yes, we are confused because we want to know the original figure to restructure was 137.
Right.
27 billion CD exemption was granted to the pension funds.
Right.
Are we now restructuring 110 or the 137?
Yeah.
Because that will give an indication of the more than 80% participation. What has government achieved? And even in the statement, this is the blanket result announcement of any debt exchange I've ever seen. Because almost all the time when you lay your hands on some of these announcements, you get to know how much have been tendered in, and then you can strike the percentage to confirm what government has put out.
Right.
But this is just an announcement of the participation percentage, which we've already heard from some quarters. But as to how much have been tendered in, we don't know, because that will give an indication whether it is enough for government to table the program before the board of the IMF for consideration. And that will also give an indication to the external investor community how much of a hit they will take, because the concessions that have been granted on the local front is an indication that they will bear more brunt of the debt restructuring exercise than the local front.
FDI, return on investment, those issues will suffer.
The Euro bonds I'm referring to, for example, the holders will want to know how much have your local people tendered in.
But that's what the IMF board is waiting for.
Yes.
They're waiting for the conclusion of those who hold the money.
Yeah.
Right?
So
either
now,
institutional or individual.
Now, technically, and you see, there are confusing issues and issues that we'll want the finance ministry to come out with explanation for. For example, just a few days ago, we heard from the Ghana Medical Association issuing a statement giving the indication that they have picked information which suggests government has included the pension funds of doctors in the exercise,
or at least wants to do so.
Yeah, you get it. And we've not had any official response denying or affirming what they have said.
Don't worry, Gabby will tweet soon and you get the intel.
We suspect there are a lot of details that may spark some sort of confusion from some of these labor guys, and that is why we've not seen the clarity in the statement. The statement was quite blanket. What was announced in the statement was already known, because sources from the CSD has already indicated to 3 Business where the level of participation is. And since Friday, we've been putting this out. So we expect the government to tell us how much of the bonds have been tendered in terms of monetary value, one, and also which funds have been captured under the debt exchange program.
You know,
because
Johnnie,
that will settle the confusion and the agitations that we are seeing.
Because we know a number of associations had on the face of it lent their support to government. I'm talking about the Bankers Association, insurance, and then securities as well.
Right.
They were sure bets.
Okay.
You have a regulator. You have the Bank of Ghana, you have the securities. They'll help you. And the regulator has announced forbearance measures. We've heard of the Financial Stability Fund, which is yet to be operationalized. So at least the regulator can bend the rules,
but you see, Sonny,
for you to survive.
Sonny, let's drill down. The associations agree, but the individual members within the association,
it's their decision.
Have they all agreed?
So for the indication,
if my mother goes to commit me at a family funeral gathering that we will be able to give a contribution of 10,000, and then you come to me as his sons, and I say I can't give you 2,500 from all 4 of us to make 10,000. I can only give you 700. You have not committed.
But the association did say that it was subject to the
on a lighter note, I remember there was a family kind of inter-family gathering back home, and one of my uncles, people were making pledges, 1,000 cedis. Charlie, we should have come there, we don't get money. Then my uncle said he has given $1,000. They really clap for him, Charlie. They've chased him till today. I don't know whether he has given the money.
it's for the optics.
We chop on a name, chop fans, and left. Then I know my uncle don't get $500.
But it's a serious matter, because you see, I'm asking this because even the individual members, let's say Association of Bankers, we know that no bank runs on its own money.
Yeah.
It is our money that the banks run with. And we have seen that with when minimum capital requirement was being made on the banks. We saw how some of them struggled to even make the money, which brought about the financial sector cleanup and all of that. So they will use our resources and our monies to be able to consolidate their membership in this association. If they have gone on to agree on what they will do, and yet they do not have our buy-in as individuals, because on the individual level, I hold a bond. I am not agreeing to what government. I said exempt me, and then my bank, who is holding my money for me, has run away.
My understanding is that the banks are holding your money,
right?
But the banks also engage the government. They buy government bonds with your money. So I don't think your principal or your interest per the agreement with the bank will necessarily be affected. It is the bank.
That will incur losses.
Yes, the bank that will incur losses.
But you see,
if the bank incurs losses, the bank is trading with my money to make profit, to give me part of the profit.
The difference is that I think to allay the fears of listeners, if you hold any sort of or have any sort of deposits sitting with any bank, you will not be affected.
That's what I'm saying.
In any way by this.
We're not encouraging a run on the banks.
Yes,
by the way.
If you have investment with any asset management company, already the mark-to-market valuation method has resulted
about
in losses.
24%.
The narrative is clear that once you come to buy that instrument, then those thin lines, you write them that may go.
Of course, but
24%.
It doesn't take away the fact that you look at what has led us to the mark-to-market valuation. It's an international standard practice everywhere, but not to this tune.
Well, because
you understand.
Of course.
So we will not run away from the fact that the economy is in crisis. As to how we landed here, we've been talking about it. You understand? Asking for admission of failure before we can rally behind the government.
Let me ask you a simple question. After today, following that midnight statement by Mr. Freeta and his team, if I'm a bondholder, can I close my eyes, both eyes, and sleep, or should I still sleep with both eyes open or one eye open?
So if you're a bondholder, depending on which side of the coin you fall. If you are a bondholder who has instructed your collective investment scheme manager not to sign on to the exchange, it means your fate is not different to the fate of those who have done the self-exemption. And we know a lot of the collective investment scheme managers have tendered in even without the approval of some of their members. You understand? And we know the law somehow give the fund manager some sort of power to take decisions that will inure to the benefit and security of your investment.
Should I sleep with you? You are behaving now like a financial person.
We need to break it down. You see, what I'm saying is that William, just before
William and I
know William is a bondholder.
We say we sleep with both eyes.
In a very complex
Sunny, relax.
Right.
William and I will sleep with both eyes open because of the bonds. So now I'm asking, beyond this statement and with the announcement that we have 80% participation, which the government has thanked us for, should we as individual bondholders sleep with both eyes open, one eye open, or both eyes closed?
I think one eye is opened. Because the government, in a series of statements the finance ministry has issued, has indicated that you are on your own when you don't sign up for the program. That's clear.
A program
there is no ambiguity about that.
That's voluntary, but you're on your own if you don't.
But if you fall within the pension funds, for example, if you belong to any of the labor unions or organized labor member unions, it means you can go to bed without any sort of trouble because government has granted you an exemption. But in the statement, to be fair to government, in the statement that was issued last night, the government has indicated that it will honor obligations on all bonds that have not been tendered in. But if you look at the prior statement that said your bonds may suffer from poor tradability and lack of circulation and that stuff, it raises the question that if government incurs or runs into any trouble, you may suffer.
And that's where the concern is, because Data Bank, we saw the letter from Data Bank, to schools begging on behalf of bondholders who are not able to honor their school fees obligations. And they say that it's become difficult to trade these bonds at this time. And they were asking for the schools to agree. The question is, are the schools able to run without the school fees? How do they pay the teachers? How do they take care of electricity, water? How do they take care of sanitation? How do they take care of children's tissue and toilet roll and all of those things? I mean, big conversation.
Yeah.
So you're asking the schools to hold on and tally.
You see,
but
Johnny, what you're saying is it's a big problem, quite huge, because in all the challenges we are facing as a country, there is more effort towards financial engineering, which basically means trying to take some sort of smart accounting and economic methods of solving the problem than looking at the main crux of the matter, the basic cause of the problem to address it. High spending, excessive borrowing,
I was going
wasteful expenditure, all these things. William, just before you come in,
program of action to mitigate the social cost of adjustment, PAMSCAT, economic recovery program, domestic debt exchange program. Chief, those are not the issues. So, like he's saying,
growth and poverty reduction strategy 1 and 2.
And waste the money.
Yeah.
Because in the case of the banks, for example,
Charlie, we have been here before. We have spoken this English before. See, growth and poverty reduction strategy, GPRS 1 and 2 under President Kufuor, PAMSCAT. What this guy? What the Americans? What's the name? See, we've been here before 17 times.
Chief, this
all
one
this English you are speaking, you didn't start it.
That exchange program. The politicians are the ones who have got the mandate to hold our money. They should just listen and hold the money well. The president was good to say that, look, we are going to protect the public purse. Hey, we voted for you. That's the crux of the matter. Like he's saying, it is not the abbreviations and the synonyms and the antonyms. No. Program of action to mitigate the social cost of adjustment. Economic recovery program. Ghana for this, Ghana for that.
We
Ghana
have some new ones coming up as well.
Flowing slogans here and there.
GTP.
We are saying that we the people, if you open the constitution, the first that we the people, we are sleeping. It is not the politicians who are sleeping. No.
William is awake this morning.
No, we are sleeping.
If you're accountable,
because we don't hold the politicians.
Yes.
a bondholder.
You know what I mean?
He's not
Speaking
a
on behalf of
He's not a
The
bondholder.
former chief justice said that because she was in government, she was gagged.
Yeah.
Now she was ungagged. I mean, why should you be gagged?
So it begs a question then: how many people in positions of responsibility
are gagged now?
Are gagged?
Yeah, because if the meat is in this spy cannot talk.
Yeah. You see, and Johnny, as we wrap up on this conversation,
But
I think
you still have some more to say.
I
Look,
think
me shouting this morning. If the next government or any government can say they give me deputy minister, do you think I can come and sit here and shout like this?
No, you be
but
busy.
that the narrative must change. I should be able to come back
But
here
promise that you won't
and
put
change.
your phone off when we call you. If
No,
you
but you see, that's the
Honorable
problem.
William Assis.
Honorable William Assis.
Everybody starts off with so much zeal, enthusiasm,
These are the
passion.
issues. Oh.
But Willie,
These are the issues. When we are giving responsibility in public,
See.
we should serve.
I honestly think that the government needs to listen.
Oh,
And
Master,
this
yeah, I
morning-
hear you, but they're listening there.
because you see, everybody now is talking about cutting down expenditure.
Exactly.
Pentecost Church has spoken.
Yes.
Catholic Bishop Conference have spoken.
Otumfuo has said it.
Otumfuo has said it. Joe Jackson.
projects.
What do you call it? What do you call him? Ken Thompson. Name it. I mean, everybody, Parliament, everybody is
Lord
calling.
Mensah.
But the government, the executive, I say the government, there are three arms, but the executive is not listening.
And Parliament was passing
It's not listening.
The law for this for them.
They've come up with a rebuttal against that. We've been discussing it. They say they raise objections every time that loans came, but
What
they
is like-
couldn't get
Parliament
past.
is the only power that can let the government go and take money. True
See,
or false?
true.
That is true.
The executive cannot go and take money. So what are they saying? What
Even
are they
if you
rebutting?
take a cabinet decision
Oh.
per the financial regulations,
Yes.
you need to come back to Parliament to
So you can't come and
regularize
rebut
it.
it.
But-
It
but-
is
Well,
there
I
in the
you see-
heard
constitution.
but
some
you
George
see,
talk on that. He says that
when-
at the time they ask questions, they ask the relevant questions.
If you look at
and answers were
our-
not given.
One at a time. But see, Helen, I won't buy that because you see, we have a unique parliament now. 137 plus one independent.
Now we do, Johnny. now.
So yes, I'm saying now.
Yes.
So the case of the majority will have their way and the minority will have their say does not hold.
But there is still a majority.
Hold on. When you had 169 and 106, you could have made that argument. But where you have 137 plus 137 plus 1, or if you like 138 plus 137, you can't make that argument. So, right from ministerial endorsements, where we saw the vetting on air, we heard and we saw they raised questions about some ministers, yet they went through. And in fact, even the person, the whole Ghana said, as for this one, dear, don't pass. Well, she had the highest number of votes. So they can't come back and say to me that Parliament, they ask, if you ask questions, you are math student, right? I did elective math too. If you are doing simultaneous equation or quadratic, and you do all the workings, and then at the end of the day, your answer is wrong, what would you have done? What would you have built on?
So I think
so. When we finish the vetting, we expect Parliament to be seen to be holding the executive accountable and vice versa. But you know why it will not work? Osei Chimensabosu, who is Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, a leader of government business, and also majority leader, he sits at cabinet, whether you like it or not. So he goes to cabinet. They cook the thing from there, that we want Sunny and Helen and William to be our ministers. Then he brings it to Parliament as head of the business committee, and he comes to present it, and then he joins the people to debate it, what he has brought to. Then when we finish, we endorse it. So when I heard him the last time talk about the fact that some deputy ministers don't bring value to the table, I said, but you had the opportunity to stop it at cabinet, to tell Mr. President that this one, it will not wash.
And when they want to pass those bills, MPs who are sick, they will come in ambulance. MPs who are traveled will come in lookalikes and come and vote.
Come in.
You know what I mean? I'm saying that when they want to pass and take the money, MPs who are sick will come in ambulance just for the numbers. MPs who have traveled will come in lookalikes.
You have something against Ajo Asafo?
I haven't mentioned names.
You are on your own.